For over 60 years, he was known as the Madman of Magic. But more than being a magician and illusionist, Stan Kramien was a circus impresario, animal trainer, artist, photographer, radio actor, television host, and most of all, a showman. Stanley Richard Kramien was born May 9, 1925 in Portland, Oregon. His father Clarence was a fireman and building contractor. His mother Vida was a homemaker. An only child, Stan's early life was all about animals. As a young boy, his parents took him to see the circuses that traveled through Portland. The impression of those mammoth shows never left him. Back at home, Stan raised his own menagerie of pets. But it was the world of magic that soon cast a spell over him. Years later, in a television interview, Stan remembered his first taste of the art.
And when I was a little boy, about 8 or 9 years old, I'd skip school and take the Broadway streetcar to the Paramount Theater and sit in the front row and watch the old-timers like Blackstone, Jack Gwynn, Dante, and all the people with the big magic shows. Then when the movie'd come on, I'd fall asleep, wake up when the band played, and you know, they had 3 a day, so you got to see the show 3 times for 1 admission price.
Soon, young Stan was checking out magic books from the local library and practicing long into the night. His first performances were for relatives and friends. Stan's early talent was recognized by Portland magicians Bill Pryor and Jimmy Stoppard. Soon, Kramien and Stoppard were performing shows in local Grange halls, with Stan's mother playing piano as accompaniment and selling homemade pies during intermission. These shows gave the teenaged Kramien his first exposure to real audiences. By 1944, America was at war. 19-year-old Stan was drafted into the Army. In basic training, it was discovered that he was a magician. Stan was shipped to New York, ready for duty, as he later joked, overseas, on Long Island. Young Kramien was assigned to special services at Camp Upton and became a member of Irving Berlin's Opry House gang. Berlin had produced his show This Is the Army at the camp and was then coordinating smaller USO units to tour camps around the country. When Private Kramien was first introduced to Berlin, he said, "Hello, Irving." The legendary songwriter and producer looked up at the brash 6'4" magician and said, "My name is Mr. Berlin." Despite the faux pas, soon Kramien was performing as many as 25 shows a day, everywhere from hospital wards to war bond rallies and officers' clubs. It gave him the opportunity to hone his tricks and routines in front of many tough audiences. While stationed in Texas, Kramien was assigned to chauffeur other acts to various camps to present their shows. One of these performers was the great Nicola and his wife Marion. Nicola had toured the world with a large illusion show that included a vanishing baby elephant. Several weeks after his encounter with Nicola, Kramien had the chance to see the big shows of Virgil, MacDonald Birch, the great Dante, and Harry Blackstone, all within several days of each other. Seeing all of these illusionists cemented in Stan's mind the idea that one day he too would have a large touring magic show. Kramien was back in New York when the war ended in August of 1945. He soon found work on network radio as a paid contestant on quiz programs such as Take It or Leave It with the $64 question, as an actor on soap operas, and for producer Norman Corwin, all while performing his magic act in clubs at night. It was at one of these clubs in Greenwich Village that legendary news columnist Walter Winchell saw Kramien's fast-paced act and dubbed him the Madman of Magic. But with so many magicians working in New York, Stan found the competition for jobs to be fierce. So in 1946, he returned to Oregon. Kramien soon found that it was difficult to find work in the Northwest. Agents told him his act was too hip and his humor was too Jewish. Then one agent offered Stan a job on a carnival. He resisted until he went out to the carnival lot and met A.J. Budd, the owner of West Coast Shows. Budd told Kramien he would pay him $35 a week to be the outside talker in front of the tent show. Stan was ready to turn down the offer until Budd told him he would also get to keep the money paid by audiences to see the Headless Woman and Blade Box illusions in the sideshow. It was up to Kramien to entice the crowds to see the wonders inside the tent. By the end of the 2-week run, Kramien had earned several $100s and learned the techniques of the pitchman, a skill that would serve him well in years to come. In the spring of 1947, Stan met Warren Graham. The son of a wealthy Oregon lumberman, Graham was fascinated with magic and wanted to create a large touring show. The 34-year-old Graham hired 22-year-old Kramien to assist him in the show. Stan and Warren went to Los Angeles, where they met Bill Larson Sr., then the owner of Thayer's Studio of Magic. Graham purchased the remains of Orson Welles' Mercury Wonder Show and dozens of other props from Larson. In the fall of 1947, Warren and his wife Lucille, along with Stan and a company of assistants, toured theaters in the Northwest with Warren Graham's $25,000 House of Magic. Stan performed his act as part of the show, but the inexperienced Graham soon found that Kramien's performance was getting more reaction than many of Graham's large illusions. When the show reached the Post Street Theater in Spokane, Stan left and Graham closed the tour. Back in Portland, Stan went on tour for International Harvester with a show that traveled throughout the Midwest. Back home, he formed his own tent show for a summer of fair dates in 1948. It was during this time that he met 18-year-old Leone Johnson. Leone assisted in the large show, and soon she and Stan were in love. They married in 1949 and hit the road, performing in the few vaudeville theaters still featuring live stage shows and in a string of nightclubs around the West. By the early 1950s, it was getting harder to find work as a magician. Television had invaded homes and club and theater shows dried up. To supplement their income, Stan and Leone opened a pet shop in Portland, and Stan also worked as a portrait photographer while still hustling shows. The couple moved to Yakima, Washington when Stan was offered a job as promotional director of KYAK Radio and his own morning show. Local advertisers loved Stan, who created unique promotions to draw customers into their stores, including pet shows and a parking lot circus. In 1956, Stan and Leone moved to Tacoma, Washington, where they managed the pet department of a large variety store. Stan also signed a deal for his own daily television show on KTVW Channel 13, which featured animals and, of course, magic. On July 7, 1956, Leone gave birth to a son, Stanley Richard Kramien Jr., who became known as Rick. The Kramien family was back in Portland, with Stan performing his magic and appearing at shopping centers as Chemo the Clown with his chimp Kathy and making balloon animals for the shoppers. Within several years, Stan expanded the idea of staging a traditional tent circus as a promotion for local retailers. He purchased a tent, seats, and built and painted the props for a complete supermarket circus. Leone trained dogs, ponies, and chimps for her own act, and Stan purchased a baby elephant, one of the few in captivity at the time, as a feature of the new show, along with a full complement of circus acts. The unit traveled up and down the West Coast for several years. Stan wore many hats in the production, acting as ringmaster, magician, animal trainer, and even on occasion, lion tamer. In 1965, Stan became the agent for Kirby Grant, better known as television's Sky King, the Flying Cowboy. Stan booked Grant for a 32-week tour on the mammoth Carson & Barnes 5-ring circus. Stan, Leone, and Rick traveled with the show across the country, moving every day to a new town and new circus lot. It was a grueling tour, but taught Kramien the intricacies of a large traveling show. However, by the end of the season, Leone told Stan she was tired of the show business grind, and after 16 years together, Stan and Leone parted ways. Stan carried on, acting as advance agent for several circuses. But by 1969, he felt the time was right for the return of the Big Magic Show. He remembered what his friend Leon Mandrake had told him: every child should see at least one circus and one real live magician. Together with his new assistant, 6' 1" tall Kathleen Lyson, Kramien produced his Wonderful World of Magic show using the promotional techniques he learned with the circus. Stan presented the show under sponsorship of various civic organizations in cities around the Northwest. The show grew in popularity, and Stan changed the name to The Mad World of Magic. In 1974, magic was experiencing a renaissance, with Doug Henning performing in The Magic Show in New York and Mark Wilson on network television. Kramien saw the time was ripe to expand the show into a touring extravaganza. He sold the Mad World of Magic show title to Mark and Marlon Evans of Utah. Rick arranged the purchase of a semi-truck and trailer, new props and costumes were created, and Kramien's new show, Magicapades, hit the road. The production played everything from high school gymnasiums and civic auditoriums all the way to the National Armory in Washington, D.C., where it drew a crowd of 18,000 people. For the next 2 years, Magicapades crisscrossed the country as the largest regularly touring illusion show of the day, presenting as many as 200 shows a year. Kramien focused on bringing the show to small and mid-sized communities where large shows rarely appeared. The impact in those towns was tremendous, and the show was invited back year after year. By 1976, Stan was considering retirement, having just built a new home in Washington State that included an exotic bird and parakeet farm, one of Stan's lifelong hobbies. At the Abbott get-together in August of 1976, Stan passed the Magicapades show to Dennis Loomis. But for Stan, retirement was not in the cards. He had ideas for a new, more lavish show, and in 1977, Magicazam premiered with even larger illusions, more animals, an advanced promotion team, and sound truck. Again, Kramien brought his show to cities, both large and small. In 1979, at the Abbott get-together, Stan was presented with the Jack Gwynn Award for Outstanding Showmanship and Presentation. The award was meaningful to Stan as he had been inspired by Gwynn during his youth, and it was presented by Jack's widow Anne just a few weeks before her death. That fall, Stan headlined the It's Magic show at the Variety Arts Theater in Los Angeles. The feature of the act was The Buzzsaw. Stan was invited to present the illusion on the NBC Tonight Show with guest host David Letterman. Ironically, this performance was probably seen by more people than Stan appeared for live during all of his years on the road.
Sorry, Johnny Carson. Johnny's guest host tonight is David Letterman. This is Ed McMahon along with Tommy Newsom and the NBC Orchestra inviting you to join David and his guests Diane Carroll, George Goebel, Jay Leno, Steve Goodman, and illusionist Kramien. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's David Letterman. Together now, please meet and greet. A nice welcome for Kramien. 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 And of course, what device have we here?
I have a surprise for you, David.
This is new from Popeil, Vegematic 2. Yes, ladies and gentlemen.
La Machine.
This is, you're not, now you, that's a functioning saw.
It most certainly is.
And if you got a little something to show how that works?
Right.
Look good in your workshop at home, wouldn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Whoa! No. How long would it take you to make an end table?
David, actually, modern medical science has devised a brand new form of bloodless surgery using laser beams.
Of course.
As a magician, I've studied a much more ancient art. And by the same token, I've just sawn this 2x4.5. So also shall I sever your body.
How about a nice head for Kramien, ladies and gentlemen? Sawed a 2x4.5. Thank you for dropping by. I'll let you count your fingers now.
Hi, Dan.
How do you do? And, no, wait a minute. Excuse me. Oh, there we go. Like a party at Ed's house. Oh, my. Wait, hold on. Wait a minute.
I'm sorry. We are running short of guest hosts.
Oh,
If you will step away from there, I'm sure they can get a substitute.
I did bring a stand in the seat.
What'd you do with that?
Oh, I'm getting a call from
Completely in two. I count backwards, slowly awake. 3, 2, fully awake. 1.
Kramien and his two-man in Cuisinart. It slices, it dices, and we'll be right back with The Tonight Show right after you folks take another look at this. Kramien, ladies and gentlemen.
With the resulting publicity from the Tonight Show appearance, Magic Azam drew even larger audiences as it continued to play across the country. But by 1982, Kathleen had grown tired of the road, and after 13 years together, she and Stan went their own ways. Stan continued on the road, taking Magic Azam back across the country, including performances in the national touring company of It's Magic. This was followed by a concert appearance with the full Kramien show at the Variety Arts Theater, which drew critical acclaim from Los Angeles magicians and audiences alike. Having worked consistently with a large touring show for 15 years, in 1984, nearing the age of 60, Stan sold Magic Azam to Colorado illusionist Gunther Nash. Stan created a smaller concert show, The Magic of Kramien, and also produced other variety shows across the country. With his lifelong interest in birds and performing, it was natural that KT Birdseed Company hired Stan as their national spokesman. Stan and his educated parrots performed at trade shows, casinos, schools, and promotional appearances, including multiple times on the Bozo television show from Chicago during these years. A highlight for Stan in 1988 was taking the magic show on the high seas for Magic Cruise aboard the SS Norway and receiving a special fellowship award from the Academy of Magical Arts presented by his friends Shimada and Deanna, along with a commendation from the City of Los Angeles for his contributions to the world of entertainment. In 1989, Stan created the Northwest Magic Jamboree, a country-styled convention that was initially held at the Grange Hall down the road from his home in Brush Prairie, Washington. The first Jamboree drew nearly 200 persons to the remote location. The Jamboree became an annual event and soon outgrew the Grange Hall. Local magicians and amateurs were amazed that they could hobnob with some of the biggest names in the business, who all happened to be friends of Stan. The 1990s saw Stan featured as ringmaster of the New York City Shrine Circus and taking his magic to New Zealand for a multiple city tour as part of a variety show. Nearing 70, Stan began staying closer to home in Portland, still producing shows and coaching the third generation of Kramiens, his grandchildren Alex, Amanda, and Heather, for their debut magic performance at the Magic Jamboree in 1996. On his 72nd birthday in 1997, Stan received a phone call from Rick, who told him to get ready for another big show. Rick created Shazam, which debuted at the 1998 Magic Jamboree. The show filled 2 trucks and featured many of Stan's old favorites, plus new scenes and staging created by Rick. Shazam went on tour, and it was truly a family affair, with Rick and his wife Debbie, along with their children, plus a cast and crew of 10 who brought the magic of Kramien back to audiences throughout the Northwest for the next 2 years. The morning after another successful Magic Jamboree, on Sunday, May 7, 2000, Stan was scheduled to pick up special guests John and Pam Thompson to drive them to the Portland airport. On the way to pick up the Thompsons, Stan was involved in a devastating head-on automobile accident. With a crushed leg, broken ribs, and other serious injuries, it was considered a miracle that he had survived. After months in the hospital and physical therapy, Stan vowed that he would walk again. Just a year after the accident, Stan stepped on stage at the Wilshire Ebell Theater in Los Angeles to accept a Lifetime Achievement Fellowship Award from the Academy of Magical Arts.
You know, all this started in 1947 when I paid a visit to Brookledge and had dinner with Bill Larson Sr. We put together a huge magic show with many Dorson Wells props and almost everything in the Owens Brothers catalog. And went on the road, and it's been going on ever since. If lifetime achievement means been there, done that, then I guess I'm in the right place. If it means it's all over, not a chance, I think I'll go on a few more years. But anyway, you people are starved for entertainment, aren't you? But anyway, I've had a lot of fun because I've played almost every town, city, and hamlet in America, and lots in Canada, Mexico, New Zealand, you name it. I've taken my show there, and I've always loved, above all else, the smiling faces and the beautiful people, and I like to think that I brought happiness into their lives. It's been a lot of fun over a lot of years. Most of all, I want to thank God for allowing me to be here. I want to tell you I love you very much, you know that, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Until next we meet, God bless you and keep you, each and every one. Be good to each other. Life's a lot more fun that way. Shalom.
The Kramien family continued hosting the Magic Jamboree annually at their Big Top Ranch in Newburgh, Oregon, where in 2005 Stan celebrated his 80th birthday. Over the next 10 years, while Stan's body was slowing, he continued to share his knowledge from a lifetime in show business with new generations of performers. Plans were underway to take Shazam back on the road one more time to celebrate Stan's 70th anniversary in Magic, but it was not to be. On Friday, March 27, 2015, Stan laid down for a nap and did not wake up. He passed away peacefully just 2 weeks shy of his 90th birthday. On March 30th, Stan was laid to rest at Valley View Memorial Park in Newburgh, Oregon. He went out as he had wanted, in the true spirit of a showman who brought happiness to millions.
This is Stan Kramien saying in all sincerity, may God bless you and keep you the longest day you live. Be good to each other, it's a lot more fun that way. I'll be in the lobby.